10,000 word poem. Um, yeah. And then when it comes out, sometimes if it's not painful enough, I question if it's good enough. It became really easy. And yeah, how to organize, how to structure. And I have, like, for example, I have a book on deck.
I know.
If people
Congratulations.
are really interested, a dope agent. And then she says, we love it. We love your personality. We love your charm. When I'm hoping, like, do they like the actual book or just me, you know? And then she says it's not personal enough. And so she says, when you speak, there's this person, there's this human, there's this spirit, there's this energy. But as I was reading the book, it felt like I was learning, but I didn't feel you. And she says, but you're a poet, so it's in your poetry. So can you put all of that in the thing and make it hot in your writing? So I hadn't really looked at myself in that way, and I was like, that was what was wrong with my memoir, and that was what was wrong with my one woman show.
You know, I'm gonna tell you something that uh, broke my face and kept me from writing for 15 years. As I told everyone, I'm writing a book. Y'all don't know I'm writing a solo show about slave narratives because I feel like this is really important stuff to tell. Blah, 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 blah. People say, "Where's the script? It's coming." Where's the script? It's coming. Well, when are you gonna write it? Well, because every time I go to the page and I write, it sounds like somebody else because we're black. And there's this thing we hear that black teacher from fourth grade, like the only one we had, last one we had before we went to all white school. You have to overachieve, okay? Because if you're black, it's harder. And I see a typo here. And why haven't you double spaced this thing? Go back and do it again. And it's like being at Sunday school, you're like, why is this black lady so hard on me? She not hard like that on the little children. Not hard on Jerome, who be talking the whole time and picking his nose. Why she made me? Do I have to write this again? And then stay after school and write it 8 more times because it's not perfect. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, now that is good sentence structure. Diagram that sentence and make sure that makes sense. And then look up those words. I was like, oh my God. So we were taught, thank God, which is why we are here now, alive, not on crack, not on starving, not some trifling ass man, not living in the hood. Well, I live in the hood, but living fabulous in the hood. Because that lady, in my case, it was like a cadre of them, AKAs, teaching at the little black school, who were like, I will call your mother. And like, Jesus Christ. Laura Goldberg ain't going through this. Laura Goldberg is not your little brown behind. We were taught to get it right. Not necessarily true. True is irrelevant. Your black is hard. And I was like, you know what? The creative voice can't thrive there.
Right.
You just can't. And then there's this other really amazing thing that I learned in the 15 years that I went to the page every single morning. And my hands started sweating and I write 3 sentences and nothing would come. And then I go, fuck it. It's something that Zora Neale Hurston knew a long time ago. I wish she had wrote that down. Maybe she did.
Right.
Is you should just record people. And then you should write down what they said. I was like,
yeah.
Because Brer Rabbit's from Africa, but since they spoke like 15,000 different dialects, nobody could talk to each other.
Right.
Right? So they couldn't write it down. So they figured out language, and that was the story. Right? They had no shared language on the page because they separated us up by tribes, and there was like 50 different tribes on one plantation.
Right.
So how do people communicate? Orally.
Yeah.
And that is writing. And so my writing partner, who had been doing documentary theater, already had figured this out because she had done a documentary play. And she was like, yeah, I just interview people and write down the story. And then I sort of outline what the points of that story are. And then I give it some structure. And then I go back and ask them more questions and record them where the structure is missing. Right. Because once they start talking, the structure is on the page. You just need to get it out of them, right? And a sort of deep connective interviewing process. Well, what I've learned is that you can do that to yourself. And I write, one of my clients wrote me about autoethnography. And I was like, what the hell is that? She all intellectual over that? I was like, this is why I didn't get a PhD. You got a lot of words. And I'm like, the minute you give me those words, right? What did Jay-Z say in his last interview? He's like, this is really dumb. Black people are about, oh, why are you talking like you're a white person? Why are you talking like you white? Why are you talking like you white? And he's like, why? Because you got words? Just sort of like, I was like, okay, I'm not going to hate on her. She got a word. So I was going to look up the word. And the word is about writing down stories from your personal autobiographical experience that are affected by huge sweeping events. And then I called my friend who is a writer, and she is white, and she is a hipster, and she's very deep. And she was like, wow, that's profound. And I was like, white people make shit hard. I was like, all you gotta do is say, write about your life. Right. It will be political because you live here. And there's always some larger bullshit going on that is causing the problems in your life. Okay, you can't get no health care. Or you got to work 15 extra hours every week now because Obamacare no longer exists and it's cost twice as much. Your monthly premium used to be $300 last year, now it is $800 this year. So you got to work extra. Let me write about that. That is politics affecting your life. Put down. It's not complicated. I was like, oh, wait, okay, all right. So I was hating on my white friend, and she was like, well, that's what kept you from writing, because you were like, it has to be this. And I was like, oh, you're right. I was being a white person and making writing more complicated than it needed to be. Yes, Jessica Blake, you can talk to me later. My best friend is really accustomed to me being like, white people are really complicated. She said, well, not if you just sort of record it. It's kind of like, and it's not, that's your writing. I was like, yeah, I just record it. I just like what I'm doing right now. She's like, that's a monologue. See, people are listening. It's a story. We didn't learn about where you're from. We didn't learn a new vocabulary word. We didn't learn, how you build structure. We didn't learn what you think about white people. And we've learned about Obamacare being destroyed and the politics of our country. Like, we've learned a lot in a 2-minute monologue. That is writing. But you have to remove Miss AKA, Miss Jackie and Jill, your teachers who were preparing you for the oratory contest and for spelling bee at state and for the church recital where you did a W.E.B. Du Bois poem on Langston Hughes where you were getting it right so nobody would call you dumb. Right? But let's go back to Zora, who knew that people today who didn't go to school were the best writers in the world. So she went all over Florida, her and Pearl Primus, recording people from Africa originally. Jamaican people, Trinidadian people, Geechee people, people in Alabama, people in Mississippi. Just talk. And then wrote down their stories, put them in a book, and made money. And now the books are on every reading list that all children in colleges have to read. Because what they knew is that the way we talk is our writing. And the other thing I learned is you got to write 500 pages to get a good 100. And Hillary can attest to this at great length because Hillary spent many, many days, nights, afternoons transcribing my 500 pages of recordings. And girl was fast, boy. I'd be like, so Hillary, here's 4 hours of tape. Next week, we'd have all 4 hours transcribed. Meanwhile, she sounded like a dead person on the phone, but it was done. She was like, yeah, it's good. So is this really good? I'm up to page like 89. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure about that right now. That wasn't really clear to me. I was like, what is she doing?
That's your impression of me.
Yes, you're totally like, this is a lot. Like, this is like, I just want to make sure I get it accurate because like in that section, there was a lot of laughter. And I think that I'm not sure if that was your voice or you were doing the voice of someone else. And I just didn't go down the street. No, that's my great aunt. Okay. She could break it up into characters. She was all organized. I was like, but in her transcribing, I was like, oh. And then I read it, I was like, that is good. Who said that? You did. I was like, oh, you did? I was like, I thought you typed this up. She's like, no. Hillary just typed up what you said. And I was like, well, where'd that come from? I was talking to my Auntie Marion on the phone the other day. And I actually stopped and listened to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I turned around and told my friend, do you know what this black woman just said to me? That's all I did. And recorded it. And she was like, because I then channeled what it is about her. And this is why we're going to talk about these emotional chords today, this dreaming out loud. The best story comes from your 4 major recurring emotional chords. Why? Because those are the life lessons that you are here to learn in this lifetime. Why do we write about ourselves and our relatives? Because we come from a culture originally that used to worship the ancestors. No, I have my altars. Why is there ancestor worship in so many cultures? That's all Greek gods and goddesses are. They were somebody's mama and great-great-grandmama, and they had a fucked up story. You know he fucked his mama? That's so-and-so's cousin from Athens. He fucked his mom. Oh, for real? That was a real person. It's just like 500 years later, he was a god. But that was a real person, and people would talk about how he fucked his mama. And you're like, no, Ed didn't do that. Ed did that. He fucked his mama. And then the whole line was fucked up, and then the country fell apart. That was a real person. Just like the Orishas, people are like, oh, she's the one. She was a real person. They had some issues with her husband, and she had to give him some straightening. And she had a lot of kids, and she was good with that. And she had major problems. And so all of the myths, the pathakis, the stories about her are real. They're huge life lessons. And that's why they get passed down orally, because the recurring emotional chords are archetypal, meaning they come out of archetypal relationships. Mother-daughter, mother-son, if you add, father-daughter, lovers, archetypal relationships, mother-baby, the Madonna, right? So archetypal relationships are all the relationships that are universal. Everybody has them. Everybody was born from some woman. There's a whole bunch of baggage attached to that. There's a whole bunch of beauty attached to that. So archetype only means all the universal relationships that we have. And stories are based on relationships and given circumstances and actions, right? What creates action in a story? I'm listening. Yeah. What creates action in a story?
Conflict.
All right, simplify that. Let's just make this regular, like black people say.
People who want different things coming into contact, but they need each other to get them.
So if I want to call Hillary by her nickname, and she don't want me to call her by her nickname in public, what do we have?
Drama.
What else?
Conflict. We have two people want to do different things.
Simple. What do black people say when they don't disagree with somebody else?
Beef.
What else? And if you got beef, you got a what?
Besides drama, I don't know. What do you have?
Problems.
Agreements? What?
Problems.
Problem, yeah.
Problems.
Problems. As they say in DC, when I was teaching there was a girl named Cookie. And you will come in, and Cookie was having clean for 4 years. And she reminded everyone all the time that she was an exception. And you would come in and be like, Cookie, do I have any messages? And she would go, why we got to have problems always? I just want to get my messages. Because do you see that inbox? All the messages are up there. I felt chastised, right? And then one day I came in and it wasn't there. And I was like, what the fuck? expecting a grant, Cookie, like for $50,000. So the checks don't bounce this week. I need her to be there. Like, what the fuck, are you on crack? She's like, no, I'm 4 months clean. Why we gotta have problems already? I will always remember. I was like, and then I just walked back to the office, and I was like, did she just know? I didn't know at the time. I was just like, 4 months clean. It was her classic response. But I've never forgotten that. I was like, why when I tell people that story, they're like, Cookie. Because we have problems. In her DC accent. Problems. A problem. When people have a problem, it needs to be solved. That's what creates action. In the way that people talk all the time, we always have problems. Everybody got a problem with that orange person up there in Washington, D.C. Everybody got a problem with this man putting his hands in a girl panties. Everybody got a problem with something. We got tons of problems. We talk about it all the time. Then we start writing, and we start dictating passages to Mrs. Smith, Mrs. Scales, Miss Langford, Mrs. Roberts. I love you. You changed my life. I am smart because of you, but I can hear your voice. Did you double space? The penmanship here is less than stellar, my dear. I can just hear her voice. I can just hear her. I was like, you can't write with that voice. You have to turn that voice off because life is messy. Like Pema Children says, the juiciest parts of us are the broken parts. And they're broken because we haven't learned the lesson yet that we were sent here to learn. And the juicy parts of us are here to teach us that lesson. And when you're worried about, I can't come up with dialogue, it doesn't make any sense. First of all, structure is the last thing you worry about. You don't even worry about what it's going to be. Is this going to be a poem? Is it going to be a play? Is it going to be a, I don't know. We ain't worried about that right yet. Because if you worry about that, you're like, oh my God, it has to be autoethnography and I just have to follow a form. Nothing will get written. The brain does not respond to shoulds. It responds to, yes, let's explore this. It doesn't respond to no. That's actually how we're built inside. So if you present your brain with a problem that says it can't be done or this is no, it shuts down. If you say, what would happen if? Then it opens up possibilities to explore and you start talking. So what is it about these emotional cores? Did you guys get a chance to look at that email that I sent out with some exercises I wanted y'all to do today?
Briefly.
Okay. Well, you're going to go and do them now. And I'm going to wait. And Hillary's like, I did that shit yesterday. She ain't going to play me. I can see it in her little face. She's like, no. Because Hillary is the opposite of me. She gets lots of things done. And it's very calm. Has a filter. She's very gentle and contemplative with people. Doesn't seem crazy like I do and out the box. She's like, okay. Well, then our next set would be, and I'm like, just right. So what you're saying is that we should be more like this. Okay. So I would like you to go. You're on your computer right now, right?
Yeah.
Or your phone, whatever you want to be on. All right. I would like you to write down first the names of 10 movies or films or scenes in a movie or film that you love. Write down 10 of them right now. Don't even think about it. First thing comes to mind. So. Chantal, you thinking about it too much. That's right.
Well, I already wrote down 9, so there's that,
Okay,
that last one.
Don't worry about that. Now, astro.com on your computer. It's a website called Astrodienst. German. Brilliant.
I have 2 of those profiles. I like cafe astrology, so I took a screenshot of both.
Okay, great. So you have, I thought you ain't doing it. Okay, so you got the chart.
I already had those done, yeah.
What is your sun?
What is sun?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sun is Leo, my rising is Cancer, and my moon is Scorpio.
Great. Okay, and what is, I gotta be careful in this class, y'all. That'd be really.
Keep attracting all these Scorpios.
I know Scorpios are like, so basically on the third day of last quarter, you said this. Does that still apply? I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
That's funny. That's my moon, though.
That's how you really are inside. So let's pay attention.
Very analytical.
To that emotional. The moon is really important because the moon is about how you're built inside. It's about your emotions. It's about the things you don't share with the world, but you feel profoundly.
Ooh.
Yeah. The sun is what you show the world. I'm very fabulous. I'm Leo. Everything's together. Look at my skin. Okay. You should treat me as a queen. Whatever. Thank you. It's what you present to the world. It's not necessarily who you are at your core. And your rising sign are the set of skills that you use to get what you want. So sometimes people will be like, oh, well, you sing like a Leo. It's like, because my rising sign is a Leo. So to be very, very fabulous is how I get what I want. Or so I think. If I want trifling men, thank you, this is Alejandra, and she is a Taurus, and she wants you to know she's here. If I want trifling men to go away, I just act like a superior queen. It works like a charm. Is that really how I am? No. But it is definitely how I get things done. Right? I know that. So when you're talking about emotional chords, look at the moon. And then look at your true node. And you don't want to kill yourself. No, it's great. So, did you go to that site?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you stop walking across the computer? Hello? Alejandra. Tranquilate, negra. Sit down. Okay. So, come on, baby. Sit down. Oh, Lord, that's my cat. Okay. So, what is your true node? North.
Mine is Virgo.
Great. And in a few sentences. And what's the opposite of Virgo?
Pisces.
I was just about to say it's at Pisces. Interesting. So, according to when your true node is in Virgo, what do you do well?
Now this is actually new for me. So I skimmed it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to look it up for a minute.
Can you share your screen, April? Because I have my chart, but I don't have an analysis of it.
What?
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Just share your screen so I can see where you're looking.
Well, I'm not looking at anything on my screen right now. Let me go to share screen.
Efficiency. Yeah, that made sense.
Okay. So I want to talk for a minute. Let's go to Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Okay. What's that second site that I sent you guys? Astro Cafe?
Astro. Oh gosh, I'm just seeing my screen.
Cafe Astrology.
No, Cafe Astrology. She didn't send. Girls Trip, The Boy Who Could Fly, and I don't have 10.
Okay, and what seems?
Ooh.
Revolver. What's that?
That's a Guy Ritchie movie. That has to, well, I don't know if anyone's planning on seeing it, but it's basically about the ego and how the ego wants to control everything. And it's the biggest enemy that hides within us.
What's the storyline? Before you analyze it, just tell me the storyline. Which character are you?
It is Jason Statham is a career criminal. He gets out of jail and he basically spends his time trying to get back at the boss who put him in jail.
Okay.
And
what scene moved you and struck you the most?
Gosh, I've seen that movie so many times. There's a monologue there's a inner monologue that he has, or dialogue that he has when he's in the elevator, where he's basically fighting himself mentally. When he realized the point of everything that's been happening, the whole setup as far as the game with the boss and the people who Andre 3000 plays kind of a card shark who's kind of like controlling everything that he's doing, and he thinks he's controlling it. So he's basically fighting with himself internally.
What's his problem? What's his fatal flaw?
And then there's another scene with Ray Liotta where
what's the fatal flaw of this character you identify with? What lesson has he yet to learn?
It says it. I don't think of things that way for some reason when I'm watching movies. I think about how I feel.
How did you feel?
I felt, sorry, ads are randomly playing on my phone. They just randomly happen. How do I feel after the 20th time of watching Revolver? No words are coming up for me except for mood. For me, it was a philosophical and psychological exploration.
Okay. Tell me another movie and what it made you feel.
Flashdance, as a kid, made me feel like anything was possible. That no matter where I came from, let me add Fast Forward to it, which is similar. So Fast Forward, Secret of My Success, somewhat Dirty Dancing, The Boy Who Could Fly, they were all underdog movies. They were all, you're not accepted, you're different. The person in it was either not accepted, or they were different, or they had less than desirable circumstances, and they were able to achieve whatever their dreams were if they worked really hard, and in some cases had someone who believed in them. So in some cases it was a special, maybe something considered a disability when really it was their inner power. Or they were lower class and they didn't belong in the place where their dream was, but they were able to get there through hard work. So most of the movies that I liked in the 80s were that.
Is there a different chord there?
Is there what?
Different chord?
I'm still not hearing you.
That's one chord, the underdog.
Uh-huh.
Learning to believe that anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you choose these movies or stories or poems or plays, you're going to pick the same chord for the first 100 movies. What else is there? So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm looking at Pisces. And was anybody else looking at it as she was talking, as I was reading?
Mm-mm.
Can you see it?
No.
No. We see.
Can you see it now?
No.
I see us.
Oh, okay. All right. Can you
there we go. Yeah.
Okay. So take a look at this. And while I read it, I want you to take some notes. So you picked movies that are about the underdog, and you picked another movie that was intellectual and somebody sorting through a philosophical dilemma.
April, can you possibly raise a volume or move closer? I'm struggling to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
You're low. You're lower. It's like you're far away from the sound.
Right.
Oh no, that's really bad.
You were louder earlier. I don't know if because you were closer. I don't know if that's what it was, but.
No, it's probably my cat walking on the computer because that way. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So, and you can see the North Node in Virgo, the efficient soul. With your North Node, you can see the screen, correct?
Mm-hmm.
With your North Node in Virgo, this is a lifetime that's about getting your stuff together. Your greatest potential lies in being able to develop your latent powers of organization, finding a clear sense of order in the midst of a lot of chaos. When the North Node is in any of the earth signs, the process of growing on a spiritual level is sort of a contradiction. Through this placement, your spiritual growth comes from being able to handle reality and practicality. What your soul really wants is just roll up its sleeves and get things done. This is why the greatest soul expression for you is one that's effective, productive, and specific. You are the efficient soul, feeling deeply fulfilled by any sort of system, method, or checklist that will aid in your work from day to day. In order to realize this potential within, you have to overcome the pitfalls of your South Node. The Virgo North Node gives you a Pisces South Node. So there's a part of you that is not organized at all. In fact, it's much easier and more comfortable for you to drift along in a very non-linear fashion, not trying too much to make logical sense out of anything or anyone, including yourself. Now, the good thing about the South Node in Pisces is that you are blessed with an innately spiritual, metaphysical mentality. You already know the meaning of blissful acceptance, allowing the universe, God, goddess, or whatever greater force you believe in. And the vast majority of Pisces South Node folks believe in some higher power. Have its way. You are capable of amazing inner peace as a result. You are also innately compassionate towards other people, easily putting yourself in their shoes and naturally imaginative in ways that can give life a magical feeling. The issues you encounter, though, involve being so intent on surrendering your will to something or someone bigger than yourself that you forget or neglect to do the work you need to do. Thanks to the Pisces South Node, you're so busy letting go that it's all too easy for you to lose your grip altogether. This doesn't just mean having unrealistic or delusional expectations. It can also mean becoming increasingly irrational to the point where you feel like you're losing your mind. There are all problems that have stemmed from your past life. The South Node represents the most recent or a very recent past life and the things that weren't resolved during that time. Let's move on. So, it talks about being the selfless martyr. Somehow you felt like you were supposed to do this. You were always supposed to be selfless and kind and unconditional and loving. But this mindset made you fail to create strong boundaries for others as well as for yourself. Just as you might have been terribly deceived and taken advantage of, you also could be very deceptive and a sponge towards others because you never really got your act together. You were always someone who was in need, taking the charity of other people in one way or another. Instead of learning to help yourself, you were willing to be helped, particularly because you never knew how to insist that others help themselves either. Are you seeing some recurring themes?
Mm-hmm.
So the Virgo is about efficiency, boundaries, drawing order into your life, drawing logical order, processes that where you establish what needs to get done, goals, efficiency. Your true node is what you're here to learn, right? The North. It's those things about Virgo that you're here to learn. What's getting in the way is the South Node, which is Pisces, which is about submitting to the flow completely, not having boundaries, and not having organized processes, right? So what are the recurring emotional themes here that are reflected in your life choices around what kind of art you're attracted to? Do you see a correspondence?
No, I actually see it in my life, but not in the films.
Okay.
I can identify it in my work life.
Okay. I saw it in your life just now.
Huh?
I saw it in your life just now when I asked you the first question. I said, tell me the first 10 movies. The first one you chose was the one you had the clearest analysis of. And then when I asked you some more movies, then the second choice, you had a clear analysis of what the recurring theme in every single movie was, the underdog.
Oh, well, yeah, but I've realized that. I realized that a year ago. Like, I was attracted to underdog, and I am living that in my own life. Every movie that I saw as a kid, I'm literally living it. And I was like, okay, I gotta stop.
There's nothing wrong with that. But my point is, why did you choose the film that you had the least amount of clarity around first.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
Because as you were talking about it, I was reading this.
Mm-hmm.
Your potential is, the potential of the Virgo North is to get really organized, systematized, and be able to articulate what you need and what you want. And your first impulse was to share with me the one that you had the least clarity around, even though all the others you had precise clarity around.
Interesting. Okay.
You chose the Pisces route in that analysis over Virgo. So resisting the kind of clear, unemotional logic of that first thought was what you chose to do.
Okay.
And having both is incredibly important to being an artist, right? Being logical, working through a process, understanding clearly, this is the problem here. The underdog doesn't believe that the underdog can achieve. That's exactly what you said. It was very telling. You kept your chord completely on the nose. When I watched Flashdance, I became aware of what I could have because I didn't know before. The underdog isn't the underdog just because the underdog lives in poverty, has no money, has no education. The other part of the underdog is, I don't think I can do it because I live in these circumstances, but I've never seen it, so I must not be able to do it. It's the belief that something is beyond you because of your circumstances. That's the chord. It was very brilliant how you just peeped that right away. But that's not the first place you went. The first place you went was to process and go through sort of, let me talk about the philosophical, which is very Pisces. But I was like, but then what did you feel? Oh, it was just philosophical. There's something else going on in that movie. I want you to go back and look at Revolver. And look at what is it emotionally there that is drawing you. Because that's a life lesson you're supposed to learn. That's also a character you could write and you could play with your eyes closed. But you got to figure out what that is. And resist going to the floating, it kind of means this, but it doesn't mean, not being definitive in your analysis of something. When clearly your ability to be definitive is so well developed. Do you feel that? I feel that about you at all my interactions with you. Mm-hmm. I've coached you. I've had you in class. You're very analytical. It's not where you start, though.
It's true. Well,
it's as if the feeling, submitting to the process with no end and what it may mean seems the more seductive place to go, which means you could totally play characters like that. I would just like to process the philosophical meaning of this, where we're going. Off the top of your head, anybody, can you think of a character who's like that? Anybody? Who saw Star Wars? Nobody saw Star Wars? Okay, Benicio del Toro's character.
Yeah.
No, Benicio. You know why? Because Benicio is like this. You should really think about that, man. You're like,
he was so great.
Wait, you're like waiting for something else to happen. You're like, oh, I just lost my light. I don't know why.
which Star Wars was this?
This is the most recent one.
Okay.
Hi, Campbell.
He just was like, hey. He just took off.
So,
yeah, I'm working on stuff for the surplus store.
oh, hello. We can't be interrupting his process, okay? He's working on stuff, all right? I'm going to move. So, watch him. Like, all of his characters are like that. We like watching him. So, Benicio, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Even a usual suspect. What are we going to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uh-huh.
we all,
What
yeah, I do. You want to stay with it.
what's the one when he what is it, 12 ounces or whatever, the one when he accidentally kills that kid? It's the dark side of that, but it's the same thing of him like in his head trying to work through what to do. And it's so instead of playing it for comedy, he's playing it for drama, but it's the same thing. It's the same chord.
I want to like explore the philosophical meaning of each moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to come to a conclusion. I just want to explore some options of what it could be and present them. And then he leaves. Like sometimes literally just walks away. Other
Yeah.
times it just goes what I just did. So what you're saying is deep. And he's left. Look, he's left. Like there's a whole thing going on there, but we're not going to have a conclusion. 21 grams. So that exploration, the seduction with exploring the meaning becomes more important than solving the problem. Right? The exploration is critical. There's like a need to have that exploration, to have some sort of satisfaction, to feel self-worth, to feel connected to the problem, but solving it is beyond what that personality is prepared to do.
Say that again, because you went backwards again, sound-wise.
Solving the dilemma is beyond what that personality is prepared to do.
Mm-hmm.
The exploration, however, this is a personality that it wouldn't occur to them not to explore. But then if you explore without creating a system of resolving the problem, then you never fix the problem. You never fix the thing that caused you to make that choice. And then you just repeat the same choice over and over and over.
Okay, you went low again.
Yeah, I'm like straining. I'm like, what did she say?
Too far.
Maybe I should
Speak up.
Okay. So I don't know why this.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't want to automatically adjust. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So these are what make Pisces the great philosophers of our time. But everybody's astrological makeup is merely your psychological makeup. It is your intellect and your emotion meeting each other, and it's a profile of them. That's all astrology is. I mean, I joke about it in the video, and people are like, astrology is woo. I was like, wait. Who told the world Jesus was the Messiah? Astrologers. They saw the star, they did the chart, they got on the mules, they rode to the manger, and they were like, y'all know he the Messiah, right? And everybody like, for real? And they were like, yeah. And then they told everybody was the Messiah. Everybody's like, I was like, yeah, astrology is evil. I was like, we wouldn't have Christianity without it. It's how people made decisions. It's how people decided which issues were important. This occurrence is happening in the universe. A person is going to be born that's going to change the way we see religion. This person is going to change the way we value money. It's a part of how societies were built. It's incredibly important because all it is psychology. How do human beings function? What set of traits does this person manifest really well? What life lessons have they learned really well that the world needs right now? Apparently, when Jesus was born, the world needed somebody who understood love and the value of life. Because in that world, people just got killed on the regular. You finna die. Why you stole that camel? I was hungry. You finna die. Like, people just got killed, like, for whatever. And he was like, whoa. And he said something to us. It sounds like common sense. Human life has value. Whether it's poor or rich, educated or not, a mule, a camel. Life is incredibly valuable. Let's pause and acknowledge that. The world at that time clearly needed Somebody who understood that life lesson to articulate it. And the astrologist was like, yo, y'all know we need this, right? Okay. We needed him right around Hitler's birth as well. But okay. Maybe Hitler was born to remind us of that, because we seem to have forgotten it.
Maybe that's why we're going through what we're going through now.
Right. The value of life. Right? Everyone matters. That's why Obama came. Everyone matters. He didn't come to be liberal. He ain't come to be the black president. He came to be like, listen, I know you don't believe in that and you don't believe in this. Can we agree that somebody grandmama need to get some Medicare? Like, he was just like, he was here. His life lesson was to get people to agree to something. Did it work? Sometimes, maybe not. But we never had anybody in that office, at least not in a long time, since Roosevelt, who was like, oh, we should all agree on something. It doesn't matter what your party is. We should like agree on improving the standard of American living. We should just agree on that. How we get to it is different. We should have some consensus. And he spent his life doing. That's what he's good at. He is consensus. Let's get something done, right? Roosevelt had some help. We were in the Depression. So it was easy to be like, can we please get some social services to somebody in the Dust Bowl? Because they're eating camels and everybody's nursing off of their daughter to live from them. Like, can we do something? Y'all read of Mice and Men. That shit was real. The world had fallen apart. So masters of the universe, like the Rockefellers and everybody else, the rich people could no longer be like, oh, they don't matter. They were like, everybody is eating their mule's leg and children are dying in the streets. We need to do something. So they had the New Deal. That's what Roosevelt was good at. Creating consensus about the quality of American life and the human life in the United States is like deteriorating. We need to do something, right? Everybody has a gift. Sometimes that gift gets in the way. Obama creates consensus. Sometimes a motherfucker should have been shot walking across the lawn towards the Senate building. But because he creates consensus, that was not a choice he made. So now we have an orange person in there giving us the alternative. Selfishness. Me first. Fuck you. Right? Good old American way. So all signs have a light and a dark. Right? Your light and your dark is analytical, organized, or process-oriented and philosophical. I wish I had like a nice true north and south like that. Mine are not nice like that at all. They're evil ranged. And basically it was like, they should just start the first sentence with, now, you should consider medication immediately to make life for you easier and the rest of us. That's just what it should have said. It does.
Everybody has a gift.
Oh!
Everyone.
And my gift was to know that medication was necessary. Okay. So I just found that incredibly fascinating when you started to talk about, I was like, she is just she's working her true node right now. She went right to Pisces, the south node. Cloudy. We should call that the Benicio del Toro node. It's the Benicio node. Okay, we went straight to that because it's seductive. But then the other side of that was like, did y'all notice how sharp and clean? She's like, let's these movies, and the chord is this. Did y'all notice how quick that was? I mean, Hillary's taken the emotional types class with me. I have people that have said, who have met with me for 6 sessions and still not articulated the first chord. That was incredibly fast. So, you know what kind of characters you're drawn to?
Now?
I mean, if you look at those lessons, those 2 recurring chords, the clarity, the non-clear seduction of the process, the non-linear process instead of the resolution.
Mm-hmm. You're saying based on that?
Mm-hmm. In writing, I like to know, what am I here to learn? That's the first thing. If I'm here to learn to be comfortable with my linear and my intellectual self, then that says to me, okay, what are the moments in my life? Let me make a list of the moments in my life where I've been afraid of going there and where I've actually gone there, and start telling stories about them. Because see, if you just start telling that story into a recorder, we'll have a story. If you said, I really like the process of exploration, nonlinear exploration, and then I immediately just channeled Benicio. That was a monologue. That was a scene. Just a description of him doing that. That's it. If I was going to sit down and start writing a monologue, or I was going to write a web series, I would be like, what character reminds me of that? Let me tell you how I experienced Benicio. And then I record that and I would transcribe it. That was a good, how many pages would that have been? About 9 pages? That would have been 9 pages of text that I gave you in like 2 minutes. Because it was so clear. This is who does that. This is how. I bet you if you go back and you watch Revolver, Jason Statham, I mean, I love Guy Ritchie because everybody's like batshit crazy and okay with it. Or like, seriously, I'm not crazy, but I need that money because I need some heroin right now. And I'm sorry. Bam. Okay. So let's, he's like, if you needed heroin, this is what you would do. There's no like, let's go see Sam. Let's go. No. It's like batshit crazy is expected because I told you at the top of the movie, I'm a heroin addict. What part of that did you not understand? He's got to die. And then step over the body and he'll get your heroin. That's Guy. He gets right to it. He gets right to it. Right to the action. As does Benicio. Every line. Go watch him in Star Wars. Go watch him in 21 Grams. Go watch him in, no, don't watch that movie with Halle Berry. It made my face hurt. Okay.
Wait, what? What was this?
It totally made my face hurt.
It made me want to see it. What is it?
What? After the fire.
After the fire, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The whole movie is that Pisces nonlinear exploration. Don't shit happen. The whole movie.
I remember that.
But when you're writing and you're stuck, go back to stories that move you and then tell me about them. Because when you tell me a story about something that moves you, it's close to your emotional cords. You have lots to say about it. I must have a non-linear person inside of me because when I watch Benicio, I just can't stop. But if that person were my client in a writing class or an acting class and they never got to the point, I would drop them and give them a refund by email. I would be like, get to the fucking point. I'd be like, what? I actually have a client like that right now. I haven't given him a refund, but I was like, can we do the work? I've been asking for resolution for a year. And he goes, so what you'd like me to do is finish the website. Yes! Okay, does that mean that I need to set up the blog? Yes! And should I put contact information on there or just on the email? Okay. But Benicio, it's seductive watching him play that chord over and over and over again. What's frightening is that may appeal to me because I like, oh my God. Okay, that's personal. It's an archetype that my friend calls the Puerto Rican revolutionary poet. He's one of my archetypes.
I know that archetype.
She's like, it's totally why you hate spoken word people all the time. Because I have a client, Kareem Lucas, he's doing his show now at the Public under the radar. And he's been my client for like 6 years now. And I was like, why the fuck are you doing poems? If you're going to do some poems, make some motherfucking money. Let's produce a show. You're going to make $10,000 next week. And he's like, can I pay you? Yeah, come on. Let's do it. And within 2 weeks, he had a location. He sold out the houses. He made back his money, plus $10,000. And I was like, this ain't a fucking poem. Do the business. He was like, yeah, but what I did the poem. He's like, you didn't come see it. I was like, I don't watch spoken word. Fuck that. Get to the point. He was like, he's been my client for 5 years. Were you in that retreat where he was there? No, I don't remember in that retreat, Shantae, where he was like, I'm finna do a poem. And I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh
We're
my
not
God. She was walking in blackness, and her behind was just something from my childhood that I love. Walking in blackness. And everybody went, and I was like, where's the fucking story? You see how she, I was like, can we get to the fucking story? You see, I have a front row. I don't go see spoken word. I will coach the fuck out of spoken word. I'm not going to see it. Unless you need a story. Is there a story? And he's like, well, you see it. I was like, if you raise the money and produce it and make a profit, I'll come see it. I'm only interested in process, not nonlinear. And he was like, but I've been studying with him for 5 years. So he must like my linear, and I must admit something about his nonlinear that I like too. Because he keep coming back. He just wrote me this morning, yo, can I get that recording? No. You have a profit on the show you're producing now? Do you have producer credit? No, it's just like the process I'm going through. Don't talk to me about process. How much money are you making? Oh, well, I didn't check the box. Why are you accepting a job when you ain't checked box office from the previous year on the same space? He was like, nobody thinks like that. I do! Get a check! I was like, when we produced your own show, you make 3 times what you're making there. What, to have the privilege of performing at the public? So they can maybe do your show in like the little Shiva Theater, which ain't a real production, and they pay $200 a week for what? He was like, I hate you so much. And he's like, but can I get the class though? I was like, but you know I tell the truth. He's like, yo, I want to take that next class, but could I do like a credit payment plan? No. If you start working for $2, and somebody says it's grand, and you want to go through the process, then maybe you would afford to take a class with me. He's like, I'm here because you. I was like, no. You here with me because I coach you how to make $10,000 in a weekend. That's how you here with me. I ain't tell you go over there and work for $2. Process. Yeah, that's what I told my agent. They were like, they want you to do a play. Process. You tell Pat McCorkle to process this. I was like, no, there's a conversation. Process. As I used to have a professor, God rest his soul, Dr. Stephen Moore. It's my English professor. He's a Baldwin specialist. He said, process. That's why ghetto kids get scholarships to Ivy League schools, to help white people process their privilege. You are getting paid for 4 years to go to Vassar College to teach white people. That is your public service. You are being an experience for them. You are being an experience for yourself in educating white people, interacting with them across class and race and gender. That's nice. But an adult moves from being an interpreter of knowledge to a producer of knowledge. And producers get paid for what they produce. I will never forget that. I was like, but I just really want to talk. I'm going to take the women's studies class, and I just want to talk about American culture, maybe get my PhD. He's like, what are you going to produce? It's very easy to get seduced by a process. Mm-hmm. Your development gets halted. I was like, he's like, Baldwin didn't sit around just writing essays. He then got involved in the movement, which was a natural progression within his work. He was talking about class and opening up our ideas about humanity and the fact that the Black church is homosexual. His very first book is about the Black church really being a home for homosexuals, and we're all in denial. He's like, oh, the civil rights movement is really important for me to get involved with, because after Black people get their rights, they're going to have to deal with giving some gay people their rights. Natural progression from interpreter of knowledge to producer of knowledge. That was his life lesson. Don't get stuck in being a process person. Tony, tell me some movies. Did you figure out your true node? What's your sign? What's going on? Tell me what happened. What's going on, Tony?
Well, I'm Virgo Sun, Libra Rising, and Aquarius Moon.
Okay. All right.
And I didn't figure out my true node because I didn't even see the site until just when you put it on the screen.
Well, your true node should be in your chart. Did you do the chart on AstroDance, or you just know this?
I know this. I have my chart. I just moved back in. I don't know where my chart is.
Okay, so you got some work to do.
Yeah.
Okay, let me talk to Hillary for a couple minutes.
All right.
So Hillary, of your
Yes.
movies, tell me a couple of your chords.
A couple of my chords. One is the unwavering moral authority. So it's a person who is able to stand up, take the hits. She's willing to stand up to an authority figure if she knows that she's right, no matter what the consequences are.
Oh, like that woman you played in The Fosters?
Right.
She was so scary. She wasn't the black ghetto mother.
No, she just was clear.
She was
She's clear.
She was Felicia Rashad with the weight of Medea. It was just like, it was the mom in the school principal's office in which she turned the entire school into an icicle just by walking in the room. She was the moral barometer, the moral compass. It was
What was going to happen? Because it was right.
Yeah. I need to allow you all to know, I'm going to let you in on the secret of how this is going to play out with the child and the rest of the children in this institution in perpetuity. You totally got the sense that this character was not talking about what was going to happen with this particular problem, but moving forward.
Right. Because there's no negotiation. There just is reality, and it's mine. That's what I can play.
That's one of your recurring chords. Now, what's your true note worth?
Scorpio.
And what are the strengths of Scorpio?
That the Scorpio is here to embrace passion, to embrace her spiritual side, to learn how to release practicality and go more with feeling.
So that's kind of the opposite of the chord you chose.
Yeah. Well, because it's easy, because the dark side of that is Taurus, which is like practical, which is into the system of doing things. So they'll keep who is willing to work harder, not smarter. That's all Taurus. So as I what
inflexibility.
Right. And it's rigidity versus Scorpio that has more flexibility, that goes with the flow, that's more into the way that things feel as opposed to what's rational.
So I'm going to make a sexy draw here. And with the recurring chords, you're going to obviously pick things that are in your true node south. And your true node south are the lessons you're here to learn, right? You can totally pick a character who's working with rigidity or refusing to work around their rigidity and flexibility. It's going to be my way or the highway. And in writing, to create an interesting character, just create a problem for them that makes them bounce up against that.
Exactly.
That forces them to find the flexibility of their true node north. So you see how the true node south is the problem. It's the life lesson you haven't learned. The true node north is telling you, this is how you're going to fix it. Now, as a writer, I would go like, okay, so what are the problems that I'm good at? The true node south is I'm rigid as a fuck. I work harder, not smarter. We know tons of characters like that. They get in their own fucking way. Or they're too tired to deal with their children because instead of delegating work, they did it all themselves. And so now they have no time.
It's why I could play Shell in Detroit 67. Because she had to learn.
She got a lot of issues.
She had to learn how to release. She was scared.
She got a lot of issues. Just calm down. She got like pages of monologues.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, bitch.
Because she's trying to hold on. Trying to hold on so hard. Mm-hmm.
You're talking too much. I hope that's, I saw the workshop of the play. I hope it's been cut since then. I was like, that bitch got monologues longer than August Wilson. And but all monologues are about, I am not going to change.
That's it. That she's like, you can't make me change. And finally she has to change.
She has monologues that are literally 5 pages long.
Oh, it's not like that anymore. No.
Okay, that's good. Because,
But as soon as I read it, I was like, I understand this.
So as an actor, having an understanding of these things, It's like, this is where I enter this role.
Mm-hmm.
And it's where I enter it uniquely, because within your chord, everybody, the way they work out their chord is specific to them. I have that rigidity thing. I work it out very differently than Hillary.
Yeah.
I just cuss and exit the room. Hillary stays in the room and processes through why you're going to do what you're doing. Whereas my character creates, enjoys, fleshes out, and dramatizes the conflict. Oh, really? Oh, okay, that's what you're gonna do? Let me show you how you're not gonna do that right now with my black ass. And like, just so you become more incendiary and then exit. And then leave everyone to clean up. Because everyone, of course, needs this fifth person in the room to solve the problem. And the fifth person has said the only way it's gonna get solved is my way, or I'm leaving, right? Both rigid, both inflexible, but we know how to write those characters, right? If you just tell me a story about a character like that, or you record a story about a character like that, the problem that you can present them with is somebody who's completely different than that. Or you can create a problem for them in which their rigidity is going to work against them. People who are rigid tend to not need other people. But guess what? If you got a child that's autistic and y'all married, we need both of the parents to help us raise this child. So that rigid person has got to learn to work with the other parent, for the sake of the child. So if you have a set of emotional characteristics that you know off the back of your head, this is how I'm going to act out in this situation. As a writer, give yourself a situation where you can act that shit out, and then present a problem or a person who's getting in the way. You could write for days about this. And the key to writer's block, which is a question I got all the time, is to just start talking into a recorder and tell me a story. And we will worry about the structure of it. I have an outline template. I have an outline where you plug in the whole steps from your inciting incident to 1, 2, 3, 4, the 3 major problems to the climax. I got all that shit. We don't worry about the structure until we have the stories. What is the content? You generate the content by talking to a recorder. You figure out the content that you're going to talk about by exploring your emotional chords and finding out the 4 things that you struggle with, and then telling me stories about those 4 things. You don't worry about the content. I hear this all the time. I don't want to talk about my life and then my family are going to be mad. I was like, that's a really great excuse for not writing. Mm-hmm. It's the first that all actors give me. Why the fuck are you an actor? You're a fucking actor because you're mad at your fucking mama and your daddy. What the fuck else is there? You are here working that shit out. You're the only person in denial about that. And guess who knows that? The theater and the whole world of producing. That's why they're willing to pay you less than unemployment for you to work out your problems with your mama and your daddy. Because you haven't figured out that that's a problem. Ooh, I said it. Once I figured out, I was like, oh, so y'all gonna try to not pay me so I can do therapy for y'all and y'all get an actor? And I can just work through my shit up here and be destructive? No, thank you very much. I would like to write characters. We are satisfied by characters who are changed by the end of their journey. They have learned the life lesson. They've at least learned what it is and how they are blocking it. Even if they don't learn how to solve it. Yeah, a whole bit. All the August Wilson plays is about people figuring out they block. All of them. Most of the time they don't resolve it. But we do see them discovering it. And it's compelling. Now the shit that we love that wins Oscars are people completely changing the life path. That's why those movies get Oscars. Because it's a person learning the life lesson, which is what their true node north is, and then their true node south, we see them going with the flow and resolving that problem in themselves and being redeemed as a result. Start with yourself. Hillary got to go check on her child. Start with yourself. If you read through these charts, you will start taking notes about what pops out at you. Ooh, I do that shit right there. I did shit right there. Then read True Note North, True Note South. Ooh, I do that shit right there. And then talking to a recorder and tell me a story where you did that. If you can't think of a personal story from your life, think of a character in a movie or film who did that. And talking to a recorder and tell me about that person. And then transcribe them. I promise you, at the end of 3 or 4 weeks of doing that, an hour or so a day, I promise you you'll have 300 pages. 300. Easy. Not a problem. Done. It's how I start with all of my clients who always come to me with all of these pages. Hillary came to me. She's like, I want to have a private writing retreat, which is what she did. She's like, I'm going to get a cheap ticket, and I'm coming to New York for 2 days, and I'm going to write a script. I was like, okay, Hillary. I was like, where's your husband and your child? I already talked to him. He's like, okay, I will keep the kid. You can go do a writing retreat in April. So that's what we did. And she came in, and she was like, I knew that I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And I was like, Okay. She did all the research. She sent me, we had a call 6 months earlier. I gave her a list of books, like historical books, When and Where I Enter, Black Women in the 40s, blah, 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 blah. And then we got through that weekend, and she had lots of writing that sounded like a report. And I said, just talk and record yourself. That's the story. 3 months later, she had a script, full script, done. I gave her a deadline. I was like, okay, so now we're in July. December 1, I would like a draft. She's like, what? I was like, a draft. And she did. Was it good? No. What did Sheryl Sandberg say? Sheryl Sandberg says, done is better than perfect. You need 500 pages to get 100. So in that weekend, I taught her the process of recording, finding the chords, finding the stories, creating content. You edit it later. Creating content. And creating content becomes easy when you speak from your chords. It really is. Have somebody interview you. That's what I do in my writing classes. And you finish. you finish. People's going to the bathrooms and what's nuts. So let's take a pause.
The true north node, south node. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I have a whole binder of my astrological profile. It's kind of scary, but never really explored that. And it's interesting because I've wondered, well, there is a cloudiness in me, but there's also clarity. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to, I don't really have writing blocks at this point. Because I like solving problems. So if I see a problem and it's like a puzzle, it doesn't matter if the pieces all over the place because I enjoy putting it together. And I have learned to allow myself that process of it's okay if it's a mess because I like to see where the pieces fit. So when it comes to writing in my ministry, I'm the one who's like, story, get to the point. I don't want to sit here and listen to that whole process. So it's interesting that's probably because it contradicts, because I don't like being in the what is happening phase, so I tend to not speak. So if you ask me that question, I don't have an answer, I'm gonna stick to something that I do know because I don't like going all over the place. I do want people to get to the point. So I find that fascinating, but even more so what you just said about acting and solving problems in relationships. I've been trying to figure out not why, but I have this audition on Tuesday that I really don't want to do. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. And once I started writing a year ago, the idea of auditioning and acting was like, because I'm able to write so clearly. And so this is a quote, profoundly. I'm not saying I'm profound, but people are like, oh my gosh, you're brilliant. Oh my God, this is so deep. As an actor, I'm like, I don't need that anymore. So I just want to say, like, just as a, what is it called? Not a validation, but just to give you feedback on what you said in my own experience and how that relates to me. Like, I'm not solving those problems. I know what my issues are with my parents. I'm good. And now that I'm good, I'm like, it's fun. I enjoy it. I still like to be better, but the writing, Now that's juicy. And directing it, that's going to be even more fun.
Well, because you're a producer of work now. And you can write from your chords. You can write from the deepest parts of yourself.
No, I write completely from myself. I always take from myself, and I also analyze people when I write characters loosely based on them, because I can get straight to the core of a person. I know how to get straight to the core of a person. I know it has been a little more challenging to do it to myself. And how I know about the underdog is because I looked back and I realized I have been living the movies that hit me as a child. I had a problem with boundaries, which is something that was in the chart. I had a problem with boundaries as a child. I was sexually abused for 8 years. My boundaries were taken away. So it has taken me up until into my 30s to learn I actually have boundaries, and that's okay. I need boundaries. And now that I'm exercising in my life, those things are clearer. And so I have that in my films. My films are about people learning that where they come from, they don't have to repeat in the future. They can do something differently. That's the through line through all of my films that I write, and the plays that I write for church. So yeah, just to give you.
Well, the marketplace. I mean, according to my agents, I'm still an actor. As far as I'm concerned, I'm a producer, coach, dream builder, structure. Go making a living and going to Morocco. I can't help y'all. And they come, you want us to do? I was like, no. I was like, where are you now? I was like, I'm in Switzerland. I was like, so what's the scale on that job? They're like, oh, well, they can't meet your quote. They're only playing scale. I was like, okay, so that's $1,100 for the day. Then I got to learn the lines and go to auditions. So that's 10 hours of work I'm not getting paid for. Then I got a costume fit. All right, so I'm making $1,100. Uncle Sam, I'm just going to take half. Then I'm going to have $500. You're going to get 15. You're going to get 25. So I'm going to leave it $200 for the 15. I'm in Switzerland. They asked me where I wanted to get paid. I said $10,000. They said, okay. Every $10,000. I mean, a fucking croissant. A French lady just fucking made. Talk for 2 hours. And then I'm gonna go lay down by the lake near a fucking castle, like a fucking fairy princess. Eat some more butter and cheese in a motherfucking baguette. And then lay down in the fairy castle. I was teaching the motherfucking fairy castle. Come back, talk for another 2 hours and be like, tell me your story, record it, transcribe it. And then go the fuck to the hotel in a Swiss chalet. And they pay me $10,000. It's in the PayPal. Now, is Blacklist gonna do that? Then why the fuck would I be going on that audition? I was like, I am never going to play the depth of what I do if I don't make it.
And that's why I'm writing, because I plan on making what I write. I don't really care about that other stuff anymore. I feel like I learned all of that so that I can actually be in what I write. That must have been it, because it doesn't make sense.
You're working for other people, and the people who are working the most as actors are not writing their own stuff. They're doing the shallow stuff that the industry is asking of them. And that's fine, if that's what you want to do. It's a lot of fucking work.
It's a relationship. We need them.
Whatever. The country's falling apart. You better own something. The only one to know something is Oprah. No, the only brown person that owns anything is Oprah.
My Miss Tyler.
Everybody else is working for a major corporation called Pillsbury or Coca-Cola, who also own all the fucking networks. Denzel, name somebody black. They are all working for the man, which is why they got to keep making movies of the same movie over and over and over again, because they got to pay a lawyer. They got to pay a production company. They got to pay assistants. They got to pay nannies. They got to pay, the lawyers are on retainer for at least $1 million a year to protect them. They got to pay Lloyd's of London insurance for their brand, which is $1 million, $2 million per year, besides what people take out of them. Being a movie star is a $50 million a year production company. I'm a coach, and I know how much of a production company it is when you have a business. You have to hire people. I have 20 different systems, 5 different people on payroll to protect me. Samuel Jackson can't stop making movies. There are a lot of people making a living off of his career. A lot. There's a lot of insurance and estate. People have no idea. That's why this tax bill is the best thing that ever happened to artists. You finally got to wake the fuck up and see, you have to be a corporation. Otherwise, you're just working for somebody, and when they no longer need you, that's over. Or what happens when another platform comes up like Netflix and is going to soon make the Oscars invalid? And everybody depends on the Oscars as an actor to make a living. You need to keep getting the Emmys and the Golden Globes, and you need to keep getting those in order to get more work. And then they refuse to give those to Netflix projects because studios see that Netflix is about to be the demise of their system. So if you've been dependent on the corporation, and the corporation doesn't make good shit, and Netflix is, because they ain't got no overhead, you gonna be like Shonda. Well, Shonda know what the fuck's going on. Because she's moving from not working for the network to being a producer. No, Mr. Moore, you must move from being an interpreter to a producer. Otherwise, you're just bullshit. It's interesting about worth and value and telling story. Because he who writes down the story, not the oral tradition, he who writes down the deep story and gets the life lesson that we as a group of people as artists, a group of people as brown people, a group of people as women, the lessons that we were put here to learn in this lifetime, once we get them and systematize them, this shit about the oral tradition, that's over. Because when they open a time capsule, the motherfucker that wrote the book is who's going to be in the time capsule. And that's the story that will be told. And that's who will benefit as a group in the next reincarnation of our civilization, right? Who's walking around now? The people who wrote down their history. We know all about the kings and queens of England because their descendants came here and wrote it down. And that's why they're in power. Timbuktu was destroyed. We have no written documents of who we were. It's like we don't exist. Hence, we don't have shit now. We have hungry children in Africa. There's no infrastructure. It's a direct correlation. He who tells the story wins. Is it true that the kings and queens were all brilliant? No. In Egypt, they were doing eye surgery and heart surgery, and that don't fucking matter. It wasn't written down, or if it was, the first thing the people did was destroy the written record. He who writes the story controls who we become.
It's true. You're so right. The speaking agent I met with, and he says, you know, I could get you work if you had a book. And then he was telling me about these other films, and I said, well, I got interviewed for these 10 hip hop documentaries, but guess what? 5 of those films followed me around for 5 days, and in the edit, I had a 20-second soundbite. So nothing counted because I didn't make my own film. And so there's like all these pieces where it just keeps coming back at me. And a professor my sophomore year, Dr. Stephen Henderson, told me what to do. It's just that nobody did it, and no Black women did it. And so I just feel I didn't have mentors to kind of like, it was just me.
What did he tell you?
Huh?
What did he tell you? You said he told you what to do.
He told me your generation is the first generation that has the full opportunity and capacity, and nothing stopping you from documenting your culture as you produce and create it. Here you are immersed in this hip hop music. Most people don't even know that women are doing anything at all. And here you are, the brainchild behind this platform for 100 rappers. Then went on to have careers, and because I didn't do it, now I could be making 10 times more money. They're offering me $1,000, and I'm like, but you paid Kevin $7 grand. You know, talk for an hour and a half and have dinner with the students. You want to give me $1 grand to fly and get on a plane? $1,000? And so there's that. But I'm doing it now. You know, give thanks. But I'm looking. I didn't write it down. And but I'm going through it now. And now is a very critical point. because there are people who borrowed my work, have been influenced by it. They tell me one-on-one, but they never say it on the podium. They never say it when they're
trademarked. It's not copywritten. That's why all this stuff I'm teaching right now is trademarked and copywritten. And then I'm gonna tell you another secret. I've had several book deal offers. So here's what I learned. People were like, and you should really apply for this Guggenheim. Ambassador wants you to apply for this second da-da-da-da. And then da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay. I have a friend that's got like 6 YA novels, Simon & Schuster produced. I was like, and then I went on Amazon, and there's this dude, Mike Dawson.
Yeah.
He makes $350,000 a year on Amazon, writing thrillers on the train into London. He's a commuter. He travels 2 hours each way every morning. He raising 3 kids by himself. He's making $350,000 a year on Amazon. I was like, if I write for this agent at Gersh, it'd be very fancy, and I go on tour, and I get a $10,000 advance, and then over the next 5 years, I get $5,000 here. I'll make $30,000 or $40,000.
Right.
Where am I going to put my energy? Or I'm going to write another Creative Capital grant. Or I'm going to write another Harlem Stage grant.
I have 5 deadlines, but
I was like, and here's what I've learned. Those things take 40 hours per grant for something I may not get. Most of the time I don't get, or to give me $2,000, or to give me a workshop and reading for 3 weeks. I was like, but if I do a TED Talk, if I do a YouTube video and some free classes and advertise them on Facebook, and I get 2,000 followers over a 4-month period, and then as a result of that social media presence, I get 3 jobs where people say, how much do you need to make? $10,000 for the weekend. And I've made $30,000 in 6 days. So I said to this lovely agent at Gersh, I love him. I think he's amazing. I was like, there's nothing in it for me to spend my time doing a book proposal for you.
Right.
I was like, that's 40 hours of work where I could go make $500 for coaching somebody, put that $500 into my Facebook advertising, and then sell 4 coaching packages for $2,500 each as a result of a $500 advertising campaign. And then somebody will hire me to come teach for the weekend.
Mm.
Because I'm operating as a business. I'm the master of the story, right? I could hire somebody to edit it. You know, if you have a 40,000 person following on Instagram, you can sell your book for $15.
Right.
Because here's the deal about writing it now. Nobody wants you to write it. They don't care about the writing. They care about the cult of personality. What's your following? That's all a book proposal is. If you have no social media following, I have a whole book proposal thing that I teach people how to do. I'm happy to teach it. I'll take your money. I was like, I think this is dumb. But if that's what you want to do, do it. I was like, it would serve you better to build your social media presence, borrow $1,000, do some social media advertising, get a following, and then just sell your fucking ebook to your following.
Right.
You'll end up on Oprah eventually, or somebody will offer you a movie or a deal. They will. Yeah. Because ultimately it's about, are you a producer? And have you demonstrated that there are people who pay for what you want? Kickstarter was the most illuminating thing for me in that. I was like, the Kickstarter gave me more power than the 20 plays on my resume that I've started in.
Wow.
Yikes.
I was all over the internet. I was being contacted by companies for sponsorship. I was being contacted by people donated things to that campaign. Free space. I didn't pay for the equity bond. I didn't pay for the insurance. I didn't pay for space in New York City. I didn't pay for travel and transportation. I didn't pay for the accountant to do the taxes. I was all over Kickstarter. I got 4 speaking gigs, $15,000 each, just from doing a Kickstarter. Because what I demonstrated is I have a following and people will pay for what I have. Why would I go work for some white people? To be on TV so people can see me? And I know that's what it's about, but I need a steady check. I was like, but there's nothing steady about being a series regular. Unless the shit gonna run for 25 years and only cause me
Grey's Anatomy, ER. Well, about 10 of them shows. Law and Order. This only wasn't real for 30 years. Everybody else is getting canceled after a year or two.
Yeah.
So, and getting paid basically scale. Don't nobody get paid $50,000 an episode no more for no new pilot? No. People making $18,000 an episode. You got to work for that money for 8 weeks.
Right.
And you may be canceled next week. So while you got them 10 weeks of the show, you were making ducats. You getting $200,000. That's already gone for all the bills you ain't paid doing theater for the last. You need 20 TV shows or one TV show to run for 2 years before you fucking catch up.
That's true.
Wow.
And you always worry about the next. I have 3 or 4 movie star clients paying me $500 an hour. Always worried about, I ain't gonna have no job. I was like, you're on 6 Netflix shows right now. You're on 3 primetime shows and a series regular on 1 and a recurring on 2 others. What the fuck are you talking about? They're like, but that could end. I was like, this is true. Well, do you have a brand? Do you have a business? Do you have a studio? Do you have 4 projects lined up? Do you have 5? What are you doing? Oh, you're just counting on the people giving you a job.
Wow, April.
I have reached a point where auditioning is just like me going and getting on the 5 train, going to the Bronx, getting off at Hunter's Point, and selling my ass. There's no guarantee that I will get $500 for the blowjob that day. I may only get $50. No guarantee. I may get nothing. And I didn't spend money on the train ride, stood in the cold, had to buy lunch, had to buy breakfast, and the hoe made no money. That's what auditioning feels like to me.
But if you go to and you get yourself a business arrangement and you get someone who sponsors you like a sugar daddy, you could at least get $1,000.
This is what I'm saying. So when my agents call me, I'm like, how about this? Blacklist wants to see, I better turn off the recorder. I'm talking shit. Until there's a guarantee that I'm going to get paid, I won't be leaving this room. I can give you 10 minutes of my time by putting myself on tape and you sending it to them. That doesn't cost me anything, really. I got her some clothes, I call Hillary. She read some lines with me. It took all of 20 minutes. Okay. And then in the interim, me not getting on the train and trekking all the fuck the way out there to audition for a blowjob that I might not get, I then made a YouTube video, monetized it, and made $5,000 this month. That's what I set up in the afternoon instead of going to that audition.
Right.
Because my story is more important. I'm facilitating my story being told.
Right.
So how much is your time worth? How valuable is your story? And it's all, again, tied into these chords. What are you here to learn? That is your life's purpose. And that is the substance of your writing.
Oh, I found my true north is Aries.
Ooh, good.
Which makes sense as I read it. Because the feedback I get from other people about how I show up. I get it. So Virgo sun, Libra rising, Aquarius moon.
So the Aries node is north, and what's the opposite of that? Is it Pisces?
Opposite.
It's not Pisces.
No, it's not Pisces because
Libra.
Libra.
Yeah, that makes sense because Aries is about no balance at all, and Libra is about tons of balance.
Yeah, it makes sense. My chaos.
But Aries just roll up and like, you want to do it? We ain't got no plan, but we gonna do it.
Oh, I scare people all the time. I got 3 artists scared as fuck because I'm like, well, no, we booked in Uganda. We doing the tour. We doing this. We doing 3 cities. I already talked to an agent in South Africa, and everybody's looking at me like, what happened to the plan? I was like, and my answer is, I asked God, what should I do? And I got a phone call.
And they were like, but could you talk to us maybe or process with us? No, Aries doesn't do that. So you actually need to write a web series about that. You need a monologue about that woman. It's nothing more than the Colored Museum. He just took an archetype, Wait.
But this is what I wanted to say to you as I was writing around the films. My favorite way to express is in the format of the Colored Museum. I love how Spike Lee sticks weird shit in the middle. our house of cards. There's a person talking to the camera. Like the other stuff is cool and it's cute to me, but when I create, that's how I create. You know,
then do it in a recorder and talk to me as that person.
Yeah.
And then record it. And that's the substance of the book. So let me tell y'all what I'm selling, because we got to go. We way over time. I got to go see a show. Some children some shit. I told them if it's poetry, I'm leaving. They're like, you leaving in the middle of my show? I told you. I'm good with poetry for about 30 seconds. Unless a child died and we're talking about how upset we are about the child's death, okay, I could be in that poem for 5 minutes. But after that, I need some redemption. I'm a terrible person.
Structure, though.
Huh?
What if the poem has beginning, middle, end?
Yes, but they never do.
My poems do, though. My poems.
Okay. So you gonna come to the writers' retreat and we're gonna see some of this poetry. Because you remember them poems that Kareem was reading. I was like, and everybody was like, if y'all snap your fingers one more motherfucking time. And I said to him, I was like, after you read it, I was like, do you notice when the fingers stopped snapping? He was like, yeah, about 4 minutes in, yes. Because then you were like, that booty, that booty, that booty, that booty, my blackness of booty, booty. That woman of the booty, Cleopatra, booty, booty, booty. I was like, you like booty. Hold on, what else happened? I was like, you like a brother on the corner. You ain't told no story yet. You just done told us about the different angles of her booty. I understand that may be how you experience life. It's not a story. All right. So, can you guys see my screen or have I stopped sharing?
Stop sharing.
Okay. So, people got up in my neck about a writer's retreat because I haven't done one in a long time because I have these writers groups now. But I figured I would do one for the year because Hillary is in the mastermind group and 4 other people who are already signed up are my clients are in a writing group that meets year round. And so I wanted to get that support, but I know I hadn't done a retreat where we just grind down for 2 days in a long time. So they were like, you should do it. You should do it with the emotional chords. Because the emotional chords and the outline that I have now, once you finish the project, then put it in the structure, it's been, Angela's finished the script, Kareem's finished the script, Justine Hall's finished the script. Like, my clients have finished the script. They're like, now I need to flesh it out. But this emotional types thing is how they finished the script in a couple of months. And now we're giving it structure. So I have 3 options for folks. And I made them affordable, and I did payment plans. The first option is the mastermind group, which is already full, but I would do a second one if people are interested. Basically, what a mastermind group is small group coaching. It's just like we meet today. We meet every other week for 2 hours. And then each week I have office hours where people can dial in, ask me questions, give me homework, give feedback, et cetera, et cetera. And it's 10 weeks. It's never more than 2 or 4 people. So it's basically private coaching. Okay. That's full. If I got 2 more students, I would do a second group. All right. The other option is the 2-day writers retreat, February 17th and 18th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to grind down. Okay. So the mastermind group is $1,700 for 10 weeks. It is $425 a month if you want to do it. And the sale I'm giving is $200 off. It's usually $19.99. The writers retreat is going to be 2 days, the 17th and 18th. I will knock off $100 for folks who took the class today. So that's just you two, because Hillary's already in the mastermind group. Although she might want to do this. I don't know. She spoke to me about it. I don't know. So I'll do $6.99. It's a $7.99 class. I would do $6.99, and you can break that up into 4 payments of $174 each every 2 weeks. So you do $233 every 3 weeks, or $349 every 4 weeks. Or you can buy the recording of that retreat for $4.99, and you can break that up into payments as low as $124.75 every 2 weeks. It's all doable. So when you get the recording, you get the members only page, you get the handbook, the play-by-play, and you get the full recording of the class with all the exercises. And then you get a follow-up 30-minute session with me. So that's the skinny, people. That's it. I think the writer's retreat, I'm never doing a retreat this cheap again. Because most of my coaching is in the small group coaching. I feel like that's where people actually finish the project. It's why I've moved so much of my business to that, because my clients are finishing. Like, they finished and they book it, you know? I mean, they're acting in TV shows and writing their films. Because my whole thing is, what do you mean you a series regular? That means Jack. Do you have a project ready to shoot next year? And Angela Lewis has been studying with me for 2 years. She was like, yeah, when she met me, she was a theater actor. I was like, if you don't get your ass to LA and get signed and get on a TV show, how do I do that? I was like, got a pen? A year later, she was married in LA with a husband. 2 months later, she booked a series regular. And then she was like, I have a series regular. What if I don't lose a job? I was like, now it's time for a script. And then we spent a year working her chords. And now she has a first draft of her script. And she's in the mastermind group, finishing it and fleshing it out. I was like, because you're on a John Singleton show right now, and you can show him the script and he can get you financing. So now is the time while you're on the show, because we don't know if it's going to get a season 3. And she was like, you're right. I was like, now flesh out your brand, do some photo shoots. Let's get your following. We branded her. We did the whole branding, emotional type of her brand, got her a team, got her agent and manager. So the emotional chords feeds into everything. And it wasn't until she started really insisting on getting a team that would send her out for emotional chords that she started booking. It wasn't until she started going out for roles that were around her emotional chords, not just the way she looked, that she started booking. She couldn't write until she figured out her emotional chords and wrote complicated characters that fit like a glove. She's like, I can't write. It's like, now that you figured out your emotional chords, you wrote a short film in the weekend, now we're doing a feature. What's to think about? Hillary's doing the same thing. Hillary booking all over the place. She can't stop being on TV shows. I was like, you're recurring. I was like, if you become a series regular, writing is going to be hard. And you should be writing a movie for yourself. I was like, series regular is cute. But if you write a movie for yourself and you produce it, you'll get a check as a star, the writer, and a producer. What's not to love here? And then he's going to go to Amazon, he's going to go to Netflix, and you're going to get a check $50,000 every 6 months. What's not to like here? And then BET is going to show it and ask $55,000 for it. What's not to like here? And I know this because I made independent films. I'm not running around trying to be in front of that camera. Because Blue Caprice, I'm going to get actor check, producer check. Forever. I was like, and it was shot in 18 days. I'm sorry, 25. Gun Her Road was 18. I was like, why would I be? Oh, didn't know.
The mastermind group is the emotional cord.
All of this is an emotional chords writing groups. So what we will spend our time doing is like we did today. We'll flesh out the 4 major chords. And so there's a lot of homework that goes with that. It's the homework that I sent you in that first email. We go through all the chords. We go through all the movies. We figure out these 4 major types. And then you start recording as I interview you in class. You will meet with a partner in alternate weeks. And I found that recording in class with me interviewing you is very effective. We can get about 25 pages. I demand folks give me 25 pages each week minimum. And I have found that when you also meet, and the reason I do it bi-weekly now is because we used to do it weekly. We did it for like 18 weeks last year. And it was a grind for people because they were like, we're meeting every Saturday. We were up to people getting 100 pages a week. And they were like, I'm overwhelmed. So now we meet every other week. In the alternate week, you meet with your partner and you guys record. So during class, I'll go, okay, so we fleshed out this chord. I want you to tell me stories about the next 5 things into a recorder. And I want you to talk to your partner, record those 20 pages, transcribe them, and then send them to me by the deadline. So you're meeting with me alternate weeks. You're meeting with your partner in between and creating content. We are editing that content down.
So when you say you're writing 25 pages, you're writing what you've spoken to the recorder, or you're writing a
You're
scene?
writing what you've spoken to the recorder.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So we spend the first, I mean, it depends on how fast you work.
But this works for writing and acting, is what you're saying?
If you want it to, if you're writing something for yourself. Most of the focus here is creating the content now. This is writing focus. If you want to play it later, that's on you. This is about the thing that actors and writers have the hardest time with, is sitting down and creating content. Give me some pages. In other words, what editors say. Or what Surrett Scott, who was my first writing coach, she's a director who directed me over and over and over and over and over again. And I was like, Surrett, I really want to do this August Wilson play. No, I'm not casting on anything else. I'm sorry. I begged to get that. I'm not. Why not? She's like, didn't you tell me about a play the last time we rehearsed Sage? Where are the pages? I was like, no, you don't need to. I saw your name on the list. Pamela, that's very nice of Pamela. I told her I don't need to see her. I know what she can do. Let's do it. She's like, I'm not hiring you. Pages. She texted me from Japan. Where my pages? Then she texted me from Spain. Where my pages? 25 pages a week. Where my pages? Where are my pages? It was the most effective, important thing for my writing. I had somebody going, where the pages? You give me a little bit of feedback, not too much. She's like, I need some pages. It's the hardest part for artists, the pages. Just generate the 500 pages. We'll put it in a structure later. I already have templates, solo show, web series, screenplay, feature, horror. I already got the templates. You can feed it into the template later. You need content. You need stories. Unedited, raw material. That's what we spend doing in the Writers Retreat, in the Mastermind group. I think the most constructive way to do it is to do the Writers Retreat first, because prior to the Writers Retreat, I'll give you 2 weeks of homework to prepare for the retreat, and then you will generate during the retreat. And I think it gives you a jumping off place to go for. It's also less expensive. It's up to you. You want to hop on with the Mastermind group and jump in with your feet wet right now and go? More folks is grinding. They grinding. And you got to give me 100 pages for that first class. It's to drive the process. This ain't no like writers group where we all just going to feel our way. No. 500 pages at the end of 5 weeks. Let's go. Second 5 weeks, we about to flesh that out. In the process of recording, I even have little interns you could hire if you don't want to do the transcribing yourself. Because it does get to a point, as I start doing these interviews, I do this very connective listening in these interviews, that you will start to create a lot of pages and be like, this is a lot of time. So maybe you need to pay somebody $10 an hour to transcribe it for you faster. A couple of my clients who wrote their plays this way, who are playwrights now, are very fast at transcribing because they studied me for 5 years doing this and they love doing it. And I'm like, okay, Hillary's a super fast transcriber. She's transcribed for other people in classes. It's how she learned how to do it, working with me, and she's just fast at it. I am not fast at transcribing. I do not transcribe my own recordings. I just suck it up and pay somebody because it takes me 10 hours. Hillary, Nalini, Sarah, they could transcribe a 90-minute tape in 2 hours. I don't know how they do it. I can't. They're really good at it. But then that 90-minute tape, I now have 50 pages. Great. Okay, what's my next story? It's just, and in the process, we generate which stories I want to hear. And I'm going to assign you, tell me that story. Tell me this story. And these are the questions I want answered. Week after week after week. You will have the pages. Trust. I wrote all my plays. My relatives and the neighbors of my grandmother can attest to that. They were like, this child asked me so many questions. I was like, well, I went into the Black Archives, I researched an event, and then I had people who were actually alive during that time then tell me more details. So I had lots of questions about the riots because I'd done tons of my research. And then I was like 10 at the time. So I'm only remembering my experience of it. I'm like, okay, let me go interview these other people, right? So much of recording stories is about, if you imagine the other person as your aunt talking to you, it will just pour out of you. Oh, did I also mention that I also have like a 10-book reading list that you have to complete for the first class? We got a lot to do. But the reading list is amazing. You know, it's Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth. We look at these emotional chords in depth. We look at psychological profiles. We look at how to flesh out a character and how to ask the right interviewing questions. The Artist Way has this whole exercise, The Right to Write, which is also by Julia Cameron. She wrote After the Artist Way. Has this whole process of, that would be my cat, has this whole process of thinking of writing as interviewing somebody and just writing down what they say. Is that me?
Sorry, that was me.
Okay. And I found that exercise, I didn't even do the exercise. I just had to hear her say, you are a guy who is a transcriber, and you just go sit against the tree and you imagine the man on the other side of the tree telling you his life story. I was like, it was just a brain switch of imagine as a writer, you're just taking down the story that's being told to you. It was just a switch. It was subtle. I started in my morning pages and then I moved to the recorder. But it took changing my journaling process over a series of weeks before I got that. And then my writing partner was like, okay, I'll interview you as that. Who are you going to be today? And I'll be like, okay. And she's like, I'm interviewing you as that character. And I slowly made the transition. And I was like, it made generating text so much easier. So I take you through those steps of making that transition and not thinking it's just about me talking, and let me hear the story that wants to be told. When you're telling stories that have to do with your emotional chords, it sort of happens automatically. I write about people who are struggling with the things that I have overcome or continuing to struggle with. I create the situations that draw me, that I write about, are all situations that challenge the things that I'm currently struggling with, the life lessons that I'm struggling with, or things that I've already learned, and I have a great deal of compassion for people who are struggling with them now. It just, understanding that made writing so much easier. It also, my sense of what I'm worth and what I should be paid for what I do and what I know immediately escalated. My time became more valuable. Auditioning, going out for jobs, applying for grants became less and less attractive because in each instance I was not being paid what I know my worth is. So I was like, yeah, okay, so it's a lot of work to be on social media and build up my audience. But at the end of the day, if I spend $100 building up my audience, I'm going to make $1,000 back from that $100. And that's a guarantee. And when I'm done making that $1,000, the person who paid me is going to be like, thank you. I'm actually going to receive a great deal of, wow, that feels good. That feels powerful. I did something of meaning, which is also a part of my chords. If shit don't mean nothing, it's very unsatisfying for me. I was like, I could play a detective on a primetime show. If it doesn't mean anything to me, maybe once in a while. Like I did Gotham. It was like going out for Halloween every day. No. It didn't have enough meaning to keep me in it and sustained. So that's a chord for me. I get bored real easily. I was like, buy a bunch of dresses and people telling me my hair looked good on the Emmy red carpet. That would not be enough for me. I would be like, is this all there is? Some outfits? Oh, okay. And a press junket, like so people can take pictures of me going, wow, it was really exciting to make that movie. I would be bored out of my fucking mind. That's not everybody's journey. I totally get it. But I can't even watch award shows. I'm like, what they getting all this money for? What they do? But why are we watching the Mandela movie? Nobody went to see Mandela. they watched the one with Terrence Howard. The one with Idris Elba was groundbreaking. It was life-changing. It was like an epic story of humanity. It was so important. Nobody cared. I was like, what the fuck I'm going to Emmy for what? They ain't doing that. You know, so worth, value, satisfaction. You know, I deal with my clients who are on TV shows and are going to the awards, and there's something missing. I was like, why are there so many selfies of you on social media? I was just like,
We'll be possibly opening up another one.
if I get 2 people to register, I'll do a second one. Right now, I have one. If you make the purchase, I will throw in the How to Raise 100K in 30 Days class. It's a really important class. I get this all the time about people going, I'm doing all these speeches, I'm doing all this writing, I'm not getting paid. I was like, you need a brand. You can even monetize Instagram. I'm making money on Instagram. It's only costing me $50 a month. Costs $50 a month. One person buy a class that costs $700. The Instagram is paid.
How much is that class? And monetize Instagram?
I'm advertising. It depends on what I'm advertising. So I advertise all of my classes on Instagram. I spend about $50 a month. Then I spend another $200, $250 on Facebook. And you can also dual Facebook and Instagram are linked now. So you can do a campaign that on Facebook that integrates your Instagram. So I spend $50 a month on Instagram, probably another $250 on Facebook. That's okay. If I sell one recording of a class, it's $6.99. It's paid for. And generally with the recordings, that's passive income. I didn't have to do anything for that. I'm going to sell at least 3 or 4 of them each month, even if I don't do a sale. Somebody's coming on, following one of my threads, and is going to buy the recording.
So basically you're using Instagram to get the money. So you're not getting money from Instagram. Like when people monetize YouTube, they're actually getting paid when people watch it. What you're saying,
right. But people
looking at it and they buy a class, and that's how you monetize.
You can advertise now to make those posts live. You see what I'm saying? It's like Pinterest. So if you are monetizing an ad and people click on it, on that monetized ad, it will take them to a link where they can make a purchase. Easy peasy, lemon squeeze. You can even put the $49 class, like this whole emotional type thing I did for actors. I was like, oh, you can't afford this? There's a $49 recorder. You can get it. Tons of people bought it. I ain't have to do nothing for that. I already did the class. It's like a class like this. I already did it.
I ain't selling classes, so I got to figure that out because I ain't selling classes.
Have you looked at the master class? This is a much longer conversation about branding, but you're doing so much content creation. If you look at the master classes, everybody is teaching them. Just buy one of them. It's 2-minute videos of Christina Aguilera saying, think of the note that comes right before the note you're trying to hit. The Storkin one is him going, well, if you look at Story, yeah, he talks about dialogue and just don't repeat yourself more than 4 times. So that's this lesson. They're literally 2-minute videos, people talking. $99 a pop. They're selling millions of them. It's not nearly as deep as people think. This is why I don't work for free. So I do these free classes. This class will now be sold. For somebody who can't afford, coaching with me, they'll pay the $49 to get a taste of it from here. And then you get all the workbooks. I actually give away exactly what I do. There are a lot of people I'm like, you can do this on your own. You don't need to hire me. I mean, Angela did it for 1.5 years, just taking my free classes. And she's like, okay, I've done as much as I can on my own. I have a manager meeting. I need to figure out how to package myself. Great, let's go. But she had done tons of work for my free classes. So, I'm giving away a lot of shit. And if you can't afford, the $100 shit, buy the recording. A lot of the shit you can get done on your own. That's what I'm saying. How to Raise 100K in 30 days. That webinar is gold. It's gold. It's so this is one.
Yeah, I was asking how much is that webinar? That was original.
$49 or something. But I'm going to throw it in with these writing classes. I was saying this to my former assistant who's trying to do her own branding and launch now. She's an actress. I was like, you got all this Jesus loves me, you are loved, and you are an actor who follows the Lord. I was like, you need to monetize that. She was like, and I was like, you spend hours and hours and hours talking about that on your Instagram and your blog about how Jesus has sustained you as an actress. That's inspirational life coaching. But I can't. I was like, don't your pastor take a check from you? Mm-hmm. All right, that's your ministry. Get to it. Don't you have a child and rent to pay? You ain't even got a deluxe house like him. I think she follows TD as well. But I was just like, dude, get paid. What